Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, come on. I didn't forget about you guys. We're back. We were gone a little bit, busy with work, but also a little construction going on next door. So it's just been a little bit tough to get back on here, especially try to get something of value and quality back up and running here. But here we are. We're back to Personal Trainer Hustle. My name is Sam Lopez. For those of you guys maybe tuning in for the first time, I am the owner of Logic Fitness in Culver City, but also the host of the Personal Trainer Hustle podcast. And what we do on this podcast is we talk about the reality of being a personal trainer. We talk about the reality of starting your personal training career, of selling personal training, marketing yourself, some training concepts, but mostly we keep it around the business side, the sales side, the career side of personal training. And sometimes we answer questions that you guys send in. For those of you guys that have sent in a question, thank you. We've addressed the questions. Anybody that would like to send a question in for the first time, or maybe even a second time, you're welcome to do that. PersonalTrainerHustle.com is open and available for you to send in your own question, where we will turn it into a podcast episode and we will talk about what may be going on in your personal training career, your personal training business, or maybe you're looking to start your personal training business and you've got some questions around that. So that's what the Personal Trainer Hustle is for, all right? So to have some real conversations about what we are all going through as personal trainers and sometimes as business owners as well. Today, I want to talk to you guys about a phrase that you may or may not be aware of already. Today, we're going to talk about analysis paralysis, right? This is a term that is used to describe what happens when a person is presented with too many options. And you're going to think about all sorts of different examples for yourself in your life. But the gist of it is that when you are presented with too many options, instead of making a choice, most people refer back to not making a choice at all. Why it's important to go over it today and why I want to make sure that you guys are aware of this concept, aware of this behavior, of this natural human response, is because it is going to affect how you sell your own personal training at your gym or for yourself. If you're not aware of this, you may not be aware of a big mistake that you're making right now. Right now, you may be presenting your training packages in a way that you don't realize that the mistake you're making is not in your consultation. It may not be in your training, even though it may be, right? That's why the show exists, because we cover a lot of topics. But today we're going to assume that your training was fine, your consultation was fine, your assessment was fine, your prices are fine. So why are people hesitating to give you the yes? Why are people hesitating to say, yeah, I'll commit to that, I'll do this? What may be happening is you may be making this mistake. You may not be aware of the response and the psychology of human beings. A great example for a company that has done the complete opposite of this is the company In-N-Out Burgers. In-N-Out usually presents you with only 3 options. Now, they do have other options available. They have upgrades and things like that, but their main presentation is a very simple presentation. When you go there to get a burger, to get fries, you are presented with 3 options for the most part. And then you can decide if you're going to upgrade some of those, or if you are aware of some secret things that you can order, you can do that. But that's the gist of it, just so that you can see a company that has done it, understanding how this works, right? What happens a lot of the time is when we go to present our sales pitch, when we go to present our packages, we are presenting too many options, or it is confusing, right? The person is not sure about what they're purchasing. Are they purchasing a monthly membership? Are they purchasing 3 times a week of training? Are they purchasing 6 months of training? What's the duration? What's the length? What's the frequency? All of those things are things that the person might not be sure of. Do I have to pay it all up front? Can I pay it in payments? So what happens is most people, when you're not clear about your presentation, when it's confusing, when you have too many options or too many variables that the person has to think about, what they're going to do, and that's why we're talking about this, right? We're going to keep it to a very simple topic today, analysis paralysis. It's a real thing. When we're presented with too many options or when we're confused, instead of asking, a lot of us just default to not taking action. And that's all of us because it's a very human thing, right? It's a lot easier to buy, let's say, a hoodie that you love. It's a lot easier if there's only 3 colors available. Now, you may want a different color, but more likely than not, you're just going to choose the color that you like the best out of the 3, out of the 4, out of the 5 options available to you. If all of them are available, then what happens is you're going to say, I like the yellow, but I also like the orange, but the green is also because of the summer and because of it. And what happens is you start overthinking. And so what happens, you're like, you know what? I'm going to sit on it because I just don't know, like the orange, the yellow, the green, I have different reasons. I can't buy them all, but I'm just going to. So you know what? You're like, well, let me just wait. Let me just wait and see because I think by next week I'll know if I'm going to go on that trip and then I'll know if I need the yellow one or the orange. And that's usually what happens. People begin to take too long to make a decision. Why is this important for you guys to understand? Because now we're going to talk about how do you present your training packages, right? And so the lesson today that I want to give you guys to take away is to think about things in 3 or less options, okay? I'm just going to give you that rule. Obviously, there's always exceptions to rules, but those are exceptions, right? So what I want you to understand, and I want you to take something concrete away from today, and that is, and I'm just being honest because that's how I've learned it, that's what works for me, and that's what we do at our studio. Even though we have multiple options, we make sure that everything is always presented in 3s. So we have 3 price points, we have 3 lengths of packages, right? Amounts. We have payments that they can make, up to 3 payments a lot of the time, right? So everything is kind of filtered through this like 3 options at a time format. And what that does is it allows us to walk that person through the process a lot easier without confusion. So today what I want to take you guys through is just some of the things that you need to look out for when you are presenting. And you're going to have to learn to slow things down and make sure that you have a commitment before you move on to the next commitment in the package. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you have 30-minute training and 1-hour training, and you have a 1-month, 2-month, 3-month package, and you have 3 payments, and you have the 3 times a week and 2 times a week package and a 4 time a week package. So what happens is if you put it all out there, all up front, you have overstimulated the person. You have presented too much information for them to process, right? Because now they're not sure how frequently they want to come in. They're not sure how many payments they want to make. They're not sure how many months they want to train. They're not sure how many minutes of training they want to purchase. What happens is there's too many variables for me to mix and match. And a lot of us lose the sale because we're presenting too much, right? That's why this is called a presentation, because you have to learn to present it, right? A presentation is not just you putting the rates and the packages in front of somebody and hoping that they pick one. That's what a lot of us do, right? We just put it in front of somebody and we say, these are our options. And the person is looking at the paper or the presentation or the slide or however it is that you present the rates, and they're looking at it and they don't know what they're looking at. They're seeing numbers, they're seeing sessions, they're seeing minutes, they're seeing payments. So what happens is people are going to begin to put a wall up. And even if you try later on, oh, why don't you just do this? They don't want to make the wrong decision. And that's usually what happens when you present too many options at one time. People don't want to make the wrong decision. That's why most people don't purchase. It's not that they don't want to train. It's not that they don't know that this will work. But if there's another option, they might want more information to figure out what the better alternative is. And so what happens is, again, you fall into this analyzing paralysis, right? You're going to paralyze them because they need to analyze. And in that being stuck, right? In being stuck in that moment, time is ticking away, and they're going to default to the safe thing, which is no decision is better than a bad decision. And a lot of sales are lost in this moment. So my strategy and what I want you guys to take away from today is to look at all the variables of your own presentation. Whether you work at a gym, whether you work for yourself, you should have at least 3 different length options, whether that's 10 sessions, 20 sessions, or 30 sessions, or you should have once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, or if you don't want to do once a week, you should have a 2 time a week, 3 time a week, 4 time a week plan. And so these are your 3 options, right? So maybe you only do 10 sessions, so that's not a variable, but they either have to choose, are they going to do twice a week, 3 times a week, or 4 times a week? Or let's say you do it monthly, I mean. Let's say you only do it 3 months at a time or 1 month at a time. Okay, well, everybody's going to purchase 1 month of training. They just have to choose now, are they going to do 2 times a week, 3 times a week, or 4 times a week? So, or it could be the variable of session length. Maybe you have 30-minute training, 45-minute training, and 60-minute training. Or maybe you have 30, 60, and 90-minute training. So whatever it is, you have to figure out where your variables are. It doesn't mean that you have to have a bunch of variables, right? Maybe you only train 60 minutes. Okay, so then you don't have to worry about making options in that. But maybe you do it in your rates. You have, $50, $60, $70, right? Whatever your rate is, right? 100, 150, 200 if you're doing that type of training. So again, I just want you, when you think of your presentation, think about what are the options here? What are the options that this person is going to have to choose between? Are they going to have to choose between training 2 times a week or 3 times a week? That is an option. That's a variable. Are they going to have to choose between training 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year? That's another variable. Why is it important that you know your variables? Well, now this is where the meat of it is, right? How do you fix this problem? Number one, you have to know what the variables are going to be that they're going to have to decide. And now you're going to take it, and this is for you to figure out depending on how your variables are, but you have to take it one variable at a time and get them to commit every step of the way. So what I mean by that is, let's say I have a presentation that has a couple of different variables that person's going to have to choose. Well, before we start, the first thing I might say is we have 30-minute training and we have 60-minute training. Now for you, what do you feel is going to be more comfortable for your schedule or for your price point or whatever it is, right? Now, this isn't the best way to do it, but I'm just going to phrase it in a question because the way that I would do it would be more suggestive. I would suggest that they do 60 minutes, or I would suggest that they do 30 minutes, or I would suggest that they do 90 minutes, right? That's a better sale. But regardless, you have to first stop and figure out what the time commitment is going to be, should that be a variable that they have to choose, right? If you have 30, 45, and 60, you first would have to say, hey, I have 30-minute, 45-minute, and 60-minute plans. Of those 3 plans, which plan do you feel, suits your schedule, your budget, your time that you're willing to put into your training? What do you think works the best for you? Now, they may bounce back to you and say, well, what do you think? At that point, you can make the decision for them. Hey, you know what? I think 45 minutes would be perfect because you need to get here from work. It's also going to be a mid-price point, and you have time to shower and get out of here, whatever it is, right? So now you make the choice for them. But today, it's not that lesson because there's so many lessons we can talk about. But today, what I want you to realize is before I show them anything else, I need to know what they've already committed to. So if this person committed to a 45-minute session, then that decision has already been eliminated. They don't have to now go back and think about it. Now we move forward and I show them the 45-minute rates only. Now I can put away the 30-minute option and I can put away the 60-minute option and keep them moving forward in the 45 minutes instead of pulling out all three options, having them look at all three options. Well, do I want to do 30? Do I want to do 45? And now they're looking at everything and they're like, well, the 45 minutes is $45, but then the 30 minutes is $30, but then the 60 minutes I save because it's $10 less. But at the same time, I'm not sure because then the 45 minutes, I'm going to do 3 months. And the 60 minutes, I can also do 3 months, but it is going to be more. And you know what? I'm not sure if I can make it to work. And now I'm just giving you that inner dialogue that's happening in the person's mind. They're starting to be paralyzed by all the different numbers that you've just put in front of them. So if you can stop and before you choose which presentation you're going to choose for them or show them, you stop and you just confirm the amount of time that you're going to train. And now I'm only going to show them this one presentation for the 45 minutes because that is the first thing that we needed to choose. But I'll give you a different example. Maybe it's not about time. Maybe you only do 60-minute training sessions. That's fine. Then that's not your first variable. Your first variable now is going to be, do you want to train 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months? And so you can start there and you want to make a commitment to the duration first. You're going to say, what do you feel comfortable? Obviously, the 6-month plan is going to give you the best results. It's the one that I suggest. Is that what you want to go with? They might say yes. They might say, no, you know what? I feel more comfortable doing half the time. 3 months because I have a trip coming up and I'm just not sure, but I think 3 months I can commit to. That's what you needed. You needed for them, whether they choose the option that you present or an alternative option, because they had the 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month option, they're just going to commit to how long they're going to train first. Once you get that commitment, now I can say, okay, great, then we're going to do 3 months. Now, can we do 3 times a week for 3 months? Is that feasible for your schedule? That would give you the best results. We have a secondary option for 2 times a week, which would also be very beneficial if you could not do the 2. You see how I'm carrying them through the process, and now they're just making a commitment between 2 times a week or 3 times a week. And if I really want to do the whole presentation, I might say there's also a 1 time a week option. Obviously, that would be the least effective. It will help you because you'll have a trainer and we'll be able to hold you accountable and you'll have a weekly check-in with your coach. But obviously, the best 2 options are 2 to 3. So of these 3 options, which one do you think is what would be most in line with what you want to do? And now they're going to say, well, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 1 time a week, whatever. But you see how now the point of what I'm trying to get across to you guys is you have to learn to take it one variable at a time. It's the only way to avoid this analysis paralysis that happens to humans, right? You want to choose between the 3 options that I give you every time. And if you guys haven't noticed, I'm actually kind of just giving them 2 options. Now, why you keep hearing me say that, and this would be a completely another topic, I don't know how much we'll get into it today or if it has to be its own standalone episode. But the reason why I am giving them 2 options instead of presenting 3, and why I'm suggesting what I think, is number 1, because I believe as a coach, you should be giving them your suggestion as a professional all the time, just as long as you're able to be truthful, because a lot of people take that and go, okay, well, I'm just going to suggest year-long packages for everybody. Well, is that true? Somebody said they just wanted to get ready for their wedding. Maybe you should honor that and say, okay, well, your wedding's 3 months away. We're going to train for 3 months. But obviously, you don't want to think about your fitness that way. You could still tell them the truth. You want to think about your fitness beyond your wedding, but if this is what's important, we'll start here. If you get them great results, they're probably going to come right back to you. And then you can sell them another 3 months, another 6 months, another year. They might be a lifelong client because you honored what their first goal was. So if you're truthful and you give them a suggestion based on their truths, but also based on their truth matching up to how it matches to science and the reality of the goals that they want and the timelines that you have. As long as you're honest and you give them that option, but you also give them, if you guys haven't noticed in my example presentations, I give them the option that I think is the best, and then I give them a secondary option. Now, I opened up today by saying you should always have 3, and you should, but because I'm an experienced salesperson, I understand, and you guys can take this if you're at that level where you can apply this. The reason why I do 2 is because I'm giving them a this or that option. So a this or that option is, instead of putting it out into the universe and saying, which one would you like to train, I'm giving them too many options, right? So instead of doing a, would you like to train, what option would you like? What happens is I'm allowing too many variables to enter into that person's decision-making process, right? If I go, these are the 3 training options, which one do you think is the one you want to do? Now they're going, well, 1 is good for this reason, 2 is good for this one, and 3. When I do a this or that, I'm kind of doing the decision for them, right? So I'm saying there's 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, but obviously, 6 months would be the best for your goal, and 3 months would be the second best option. I am guiding them where they're not looking at 1 month anymore. I'm guiding them to 6 months or 3 months. Those are the 2 suggestions I gave them, and I actually even guided them so far as to give them the one that I think would be the best, but I give them an alternative so they have space to actually choose for themselves. Because at the same time, see, now we are really getting into it. At the same time, if I tell you what to do, then you're not feeling like you made the decision. You're not feeling like an individual. I'm robbing that person of them choosing what's best for them. So if I give them one option, I run the risk of telling them what to do, which a lot of people don't like. But if I give them my suggestion and a secondary option, now they feel like, well, I'm choosing what I want to do. And it's true, you are choosing what you want to do within the options that I offered you, right? So they're not going to go, well, okay, I see what you said about 6 and I see what you said about 3, but honestly, I just want to train 1 week. That wasn't an option I gave you. Now, some people may push it to that way, but the reality is, as long as you give people 2 options or a third option, they're going to pick one of the 3 because that's all that's available. See how this whole thing works, right? What you guys want to do is be in control of the options that they have available to them and present them one option at a time. Like I gave you guys in this example. First, I want to know the duration. And once I confirm and I get that confirmation, now I can talk about only how many sessions they're going to be coming in per week or per month, right? So it's going to be, you have a 2-time a week, 3-time a week, and 4-time a week option. Of these 3, I think this would be the best because of XYZ, but you also have the other 2 options. Now they're going to make a decision, but again, as I keep harping on, they're making a decision based on and only within the 2 to 3 options that I gave them. Now, once I get the commitment for how many times a week they're going to come in, now I know they're going to do 3 months, 3 times a week. Now I'm going to show them the different ways that they can pay it. I haven't talked about that yet because I don't want to confuse them. So now that they say, you know what, I think 3 times a week, 3 months sounds great, I'm going to say, okay, this is the price for this package. And now these are the ways that you can pay it. You can either do the whole thing up front, you can split it in 2, or you can split it in 3. And maybe if you are capable, you can have certain incentives to do option 1, 2, or 3, right? So you can say, you can pay it all up front, and you can have a benefit to that. You can say the great thing about that is if you pay it all up front, you do get an extra training session. If you split it in half, or let me rephrase that because I'm going to try to make it to where it makes sense. You can say you can pay it all up front, and this is something that I honestly tell people when I sell them a paid in full package. I say you can pay it all up front. The benefit of that is that your card information doesn't have to stay in the system. So if you're somebody that prefers to not have their card in the system, the best thing to do is pay it up front. But if you don't mind, it's obviously a safe system just like any other system, but all it's going to do is it's going to bill you twice, which is your second option. You can decide to have it billed twice. So if you do it a 50-50 split, then you have to just have one more charge on your card, but that does also allow you to get a free session that you would also get with the paid in full option. But if you split it in half, we do put your card on file, but you still get the free session. Now, if you don't care about the free session and you just want to do the most cost effective, then you can split it in 3. And so you see how I'm kind of giving them reasons for why everything. And again, I'm just kind of coming at it off the cuff, you guys. So if I had time to sit down and rephrase it, I would come up with better reasons why, and that's what you guys should be doing as homework for your own training, for your own businesses, for your own gym that you work out. You should practice and look at your system. How do you? It's another funnel. We talked about funnels a couple of episodes ago. This is another funnel, right? But this is a funnel specific to the actual sales process. You want to give people 2 to 3 options all the way through. These are your 3 options for this. Do we agree? Yes. Now let's move on to the next 3 options. Of these 3 options, what makes sense to you? Good. You get a commitment, and then you move to the final one. How do you want to take care of it? And I'm just stretching it to 3, but you can do it two options. You can say, hey, you can pay it in full, or you can split it in 2. Those are just the 2 options. Again, hey, you're the one making the rules sometimes, so either they want to do it or they don't. The reason why you want other options is because you also have to understand maybe somebody doesn't have $2,000 to pay up front. So maybe you do want to have an option where you go, hey, a lot of people can't do it all up front. I understand that, so we can just split it. Let's say they have a problem with the rate at that point. Well, now you can just go back one step. Man, I'm really giving you guys the formula here. If you guys pay attention and take notes, you're going to learn a lot. Let's say the rate doesn't work. What I would do now is go back just one step. Again, I don't want to confuse, and this is something that I would actually rather do a workshop with you guys about, and maybe we'll put something like that together in the future, because this is actually my process, right? But I'm going to give it to you guys here, at least an overview of it. For those of you guys that are, sharp enough to write it down and practice it and get it, it's going to be of a lot of benefit to you. If let's say I got the commitment for 3 months, 3 times a week, and then I show them the price at the end, and for some reason the price is outside of what they want, instead of lessening the price of 3 times a week for 3 months, I would go back one step and say, let's go back one step, right? I know we committed to 3 times a week. Let's do 2 times a week. That was the other option that was available for you. That's what you originally had come in thinking you were going to do. It's still a great option. You're still going to get the results. You're obviously you're going to miss 1 day of training, but you're going to come in, you're going to get on the treadmill, or you're going to do your homework or whatever. You give them a reason why it's still going to work. You're not just going to say, well, 2 is the same as 3, because that's a lie. But you can say, hey, as long as you eat right, as long as you do your cardio days or your weightlifting days or your stretch days, whatever, we're still going to get a lot of benefit out of 2 times a week. So I only go back one level, I adjust that level, and then I come back to the prices. And obviously, because you're training less times a week, the end price is going to be lessened, not because I lessened the price, but because I lessened the sessions. And you can work this all the way back. Let's say that they made a commitment to 3 months, 3 times a week, and then, I don't know I still don't know, Sam, if somebody told me. I'd go, well, you know what? Why don't we just do 1 month? Let's do 1 month, twice a week. This would be the rate. And so what that does, you guys, is it gives you different variables that you can change in your sale. I hope this makes sense through audio here, but that is how to be better at selling, and that's how you have control of it, and you guide them all the way through. So even though today we're talking about the bad side of this, right? I wanted to open up by saying, if you don't have a presentation, you're going to paralyze them. They're going to be confused analyzing what these options are that are laid in front of them. Now, let's say you did it the wrong way and you just put in front of them 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, paid in full, half payments for each. It's so much information that it's not a real presentation. You're just hoping that they point at something and pick it. And it does happen. But I just hope that I can show you guys that there is a rhyme and reason. There is a method to everything. That's something that, as a business owner, I can tell you that the difference between people that get lucky and they get stuck in their career and people that keep ascending is your ability to have systems, your ability to have processes, your ability to have deep understanding of why, where you put things, and the order that you do things in matters, right? Analysis paralysis, if you can understand that that's a real thing that happens to humans, as a good business person, you need to adjust for that. You need to, create a defensive method to defend against that. It's just like sports, if you know that somebody always gets through your defense because we're lacking in ability there, you can't just show up next season and not have gotten a new player or new training or a new philosophy or a new system in order to defend against what keeps happening every season, right? That would be ridiculous to do, but a lot of people do that. So I'm just trying to make you aware, in case you don't see what's happening. At least today I can make you aware, and you can say, oh, that may be what's happening to me. I don't have a presentation, and so people just keep telling me they're going to think about it because it's too much information. Now I see it, right? And I hope that some of you guys can see that now. You can, it's probably happening because I don't have a process. It's probably happening because I'm overwhelming them with options and numbers. That's perfect. If that's you, then you got to re-listen to the episode and really go step by step and look at your system. I can't do it for you because I don't know if you're a monthly type of system, if you're a 2-time-a-week system, if you're a 60-minute system, if you're a 45-minute system. I don't know if you're a 6-month to a year system. But the important thing is that you understand the process and the importance of, more than anything, this is the sales lesson in today's episode. The more important thing is to learn to slow it down and learn to get confirmation every time an option arises, right? So now that's your homework. Look at your sales presentation. You should have something written. You should have something concrete. I've talked about it before, but you should have what are your options for people to sign up? You don't want to just say it's $50 a session. Because the next question now is, because the opposite could also happen. If you don't have enough options, that's happened to me. I remember I wanted to hire a boxing coach a long time ago, private boxing coach, and we did a couple of sessions. And when I asked him how much, he said, I don't know. What do you think? And I was like, I don't know, man. Just tell me how much it is. Because now you're making it like, I don't want to undercut you, but I also don't want to overpay you. I don't know. You have to tell me. I'm willing to pay it. Obviously, I tried it out, so it must be within the budget. And he hesitated. And so I never signed up with him. I was like, I don't even want to do business with somebody like this. Just tell me what it is, man. You're scared to charge. Don't you believe in your product? And the guy was fairly known in the MMA world. And it was just a weird situation. He didn't have a presentation, right? He didn't make it easy for me to just point at something. So the opposite can also be true. I also had no information, right? Then maybe that's a whole nother topic, but it's like a lot of trainers do this. They're like, well, my training is, $60 a session, $50 a session, $100 a session, whatever it is, right? Okay, so do I just pay you $100 every time I see you? Is that how you do business? And if that's true, then you just have to say that. But what I have found is you want to say, once a week is 100, twice a week is 90, 3 times a week is 80, something like that. Where now I have options and I can go, you know what, I like this option. I'll stick to the once a week, or you know what, I'll save a little bit. I'll stick to the 3 times a week, or whatever it is, right? Maybe I can't afford 60 minutes, but you're like, you know what, some of my clients that can't train with me for 60 minutes, I do have this 45-minute rate. So it's this much for this minute. Oh, you know what, I can't do 60, but thank you. I didn't know that you had a 45-minute option. That's perfect. I'll do 45 minutes. So having options is important. But you also, and that's the lesson for today, you have to be careful when you do that, right? So you don't want to walk into it having no options. That's weird. But at the same time, if you do create options, you don't want to create so many options that it's confusing. I've seen this in websites. I go to websites and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. You have 60-minute training, you have a year plan, but you also have a monthly plan. You also have 30-minute plan. You also have like between 1 and 3. It's this rate, but if you come in on the weekends, it's another rate. But if you sign up for the group classes, it's a different rate. But if you sign up for the boot camp, it's another rate. But if you sign up for the monthly membership, then you get a 10%. And it's just like, bro, I'm gone. Like this is insanity. I don't know what's happening here. So you guys have to be careful. That's why the rule of 3 is very good. 3 options, 3 price points, 3 amounts of frequencies, or 2, right? So, or even if you have 1, you still want to have 1 option for your rate, another option for how many months, another option for how you pay it, right? But obviously, even 1 doesn't work. You have to have at least 2. But 2 options, 3 options. I like 3, and I'll tell you why I like 3 because, again, this is why there's so much to learn in this world, you guys. Another thing that happens to humans is we usually pick the middle option for everything, right? I don't want to train once a week because that's not enough, but I also maybe don't want to come in and sit in traffic 3 times a week. So the 2 times a week in the middle is fine. Or if you presented it 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, then I'll probably choose the 3 times a week because it's in the middle. Not all the time, but people think in 3s. People think in middle options. You know, this one's too hot, this one's too cold, this one's just right. This one's too short, this one's too tall, this one's in the middle. This one's too expensive, this one's too cheap, this one I can get the best of both worlds, right? It's the same with everything. So you have the lowest option for certain people, you have the highest option for other people, but more likely than not, most people are going to pick the middle one. So if you know that, that's another good strategy you have. Just know, like, well, most of my clients are going to pick the middle one. Some will pick the higher one, some will pick the lower, but then it all ends up offsetting each other because the median ends up being the middle option, right? Let's say that you have 3 different price points. You have 50, 60, 70, let's say. Well, you have some at 70, you have some at 50, you have the majority at 60, but between the 50s and 70s, your median is also going to be about 60. So that is kind of your rate, right? So just ways to think about the numbers, you guys, just in case you've never had anybody break it down for you, explain to you the importance of the rhythm and the reason why you do things with your presentation. I hope today helps, right? What you don't want to do and the reason why things are structured, it's all based on psychology. It's all based on human nature and human reactions, right? So you've learned 2 major things today. One is too many options means people won't make a decision. They're going to be paralyzed, right? So if you have too many things and it's too confusing and it's too overwhelming, people are not going to make a decision. But the second option that I just threw out there, another thing you need to learn is most people pick the middle option. So I hope those 2 things in understanding human nature help you guys as you maybe restructure your price presentation or as you restructure the way that you present itself. This should hopefully help you understand what the person is going through. And this is why it's important to stop at every moment that a decision needs to be made. Make it about deciding on one thing every time. And if you can do that, what you guys are going to realize, because this is something that we talked about with our trainers at our gym last week, what happens is the person agrees to the training or whatever it is that they're there to purchase. It's going to be very smooth because they were never confused, right? It's not confusing to pick 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months. That part, it's not that confusing. I'll settle on one of the 3. Once I know that, it's not that complicated now to just decide the frequency. It's not that complicated because all I'm doing is thinking about frequency. I'm not thinking about price yet, and I'm not thinking about months because that's been done. So it allows the person to make a very easy decision between just frequency and why that makes sense. And you have a discussion just about frequency. Once you agree on frequency, now you present the prices or the way that somebody's going to pay for it, right? Are they going to use a card? Are they going to pay it in full? Are they going to divide it up into payment? But now that's the only option, right? That's the only decision that they're trying to make. Now they're just deciding on how to pay for it. And so what happens is it's so simple that you guys' sales are going to flow better because you're going one step at a time, one decision at a time. If you guys can learn to do that, you're going to get rid of all of the confusion that your client is having right now. But you got to stay calm, right? You got to stay in the pocket, stay calm, stay relaxed. Remember what you're trying to solve for, right? I'm just solving for duration. I'm just solving for frequency. I'm just solving for price. I'm just solving for payments. What are you solving for? Solve that. Do not try to solve other things before you've solved the first thing. And that's where a lot of confusion comes into our presentation process, right? So analysis paralysis, you guys pay attention to it in your everyday life. Look around, like where do people get stuck deciding? Next time you go shopping, or next time you go shopping with someone that likes to shop, look at the decision-making process. Look at how they rationalize things. Look at the things that they looked at and what they were deciding on. It's good to pay attention to different things, and that's your homework, you guys. Look at your presentation and look at the 3 spots where you're going to pause. You're going to pause at this place, get a confirmation, pause at this spot, get a confirmation, pause, and boom. And it's going to be so natural because by the end, they're just going to pick, again, one of the 2 options on how to pay. And once they pick one, you know what the magic of this system? When they pick between the 2 payment options, they've already said they're buying it. So you don't have to now do it how most people do it. Would you like to buy this? How would you like to pay for this? They're agreeing to pay it in front, or they're agreeing to give you a card. They already agreed because you went one step at a time. So anyway, I hope that is somewhat helpful to somebody out there who is sharp, who's thinking, who wants to succeed, who knows that you need to make the changes in order to be better and better and better. You already spent all this time listening to this. You might as well apply the information. If not, you just listen to 45 minutes of me talking just to be in the same place that you were at before you started listening. So don't make it a waste of time. Make it a moment where something changed in your presentation, where something changed in your business, where something changed in your career. When you realized, I'm going to apply this. I'm just going to start doing this and just get better at it until I have a deeper understanding and I have a real rhythm to how I want to do it. Because you may do it a little bit out of whack, but that's okay. You're going to now you know what you're looking for. You're going to go, you know what? I need to put the prices first, or I need to put the prices last, or I need to put the months second and the frequency first. You're going to have to start playing with it a little bit. I'm just making you aware, hopefully, just making you aware today that there is such a thing as making somebody paralyzed on their decision making, right? There is something that is real in it, that you're going to make them get stuck in the analyzing process, in the decision making process, instead of making it easier for them to make a decision. Man, at this point, I'm just ranting, you guys. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Send in your questions if you have any. personaltrainerhustle.com. The link is in the About section of the episode, and I've been adding it to the episodes as well. So if you're looking at the episode, or if you hit About and go there, just hit personaltrainerhustle.com, send in your question. We'll turn it into an episode, and that is how we keep helping personal trainers improve in their career and, give yourself the best shot at being successful at this game, because, there's a lot of things we need to pick up along the way. Just your training sometimes isn't everything that you need to know. Just because you're the best at teaching squats doesn't mean you're going to be successful. It's important, but it's not everything. So Personal Trainer Hustle is a resource for you guys to pick up other information, other tips from a more experienced trainer, a business owner, and even sometimes some of my friends and colleagues in this space. All right? Talk to you guys soon. Bye.